Hey, I know this chick. Welcome back to the channel. I kind of waited for this one because I actually reached out to the person that's actually behind the crime of this on social media to get their point of view or if I can get an interview. And unfortunately, she did not reply. So I thought I'd just move forward from here anyway because I kind of put this case on hold because I actually personally know this person. And it was a shock to me that this came out. So this was a former youth worker, kind of like a social worker. Uh, Her name is Bianca Chenard, age is 26. She's basically charged for sexually exploiting a young person. Let's see if I'm deeper into the charges down here. Uh, so in Campbellton, she appeared in Moncton Provincial Court on October 26th for a start of trial of 2 days, but instead she changed her plea to guilty. So she pleaded not guilty the first time, but usually when it comes to these types of cases, they tend to plead not guilty, and then they try to figure out what's the best, uh, I guess, reaction to the plea, and usually comes down to a plea deal when it comes to these specific types of cases. Chenard admitted committing sexual exploitations by touching a young person for sexual purposes while in the position of trust or authority between January 1st and June 1st of 2019 in Moncton. So she basically admitted doing it once. It only happened the one time at this time before the final sentencing, and then whenever the younger person went on trial, I guess that's when most of the truth came out, and the judges happened to believe his side over hers. So the Senate was set for Thursday, but the judge proceeding over the case is on sick leave, so it couldn't go ahead. Instead, the court set a new sentencing date for May 1st. Chenard had been charged with indictable versions of the offense, which comes with minimum punishment of 1 year in jail and a maximum sentence of 14 years. But the prosecutor, Annie St. Jacques, accepted a guilty plea in the summary version of the offense, which has a minimum punishment of 3 months in jail and a maximum of 2 years. She was unpresent when she pleaded guilty in October and was supposed to be sentenced on January 27th, but didn't happen because she hired a lawyer days before the sentencing. So basically, again, when it comes to these type of cases, they usually plead not guilty, and then after that, they wait, they plead guilty, and then they get a lesser sentence because either evidence or proof or something's lacking. So if they play the waiting game, they can do a plea deal and then get a better sentence. Instead of, she was supposed to do 14 years, but instead she's going to be doing 2 years instead because of the this game that they played here. So the court adjourned, and Thursday they given the defense more time to get ready, agreed to the statement of facts. In November 2019, a youth went to the RCMP accompanied by an adult to report Chenard had sexually exploited him when he was 17. Chenard was on the student placement at Moncton Youth Residence in 2018 and then was hired to work at the residence. So basically, she started as like, like those shadowing jobs. She shadowed, I guess, like a social worker that she wanted to eventually become a social worker. So she was shadowing into the cases of this youngster, and eventually she took over the case. The 17-year-old in his social worker case, and eventually took over full time in 2018. But during the first half of 2019, there was multiple incidents that Chenard brought the 17-year-old boy to her home, and they had sexual intercourse. Chenard agreed with the facts, and the judge confirmed her guilty plea. So they agreed that the judge confirmed her guilty plea, and publication was banned, is in place so nobody can report or identify the victim at this point. This is like the crazy part I find. So the judge will sentence a former youth care worker next year for repeatedly having sex with a teen in her care. who she also harbored in her apartment while he was on the run from her workplace almost 5 years ago. So basically, like, he was a runaway. I think he was maybe in the group home or some shit like that. He was in a care, like maybe a foster home. It's hard to say because they're trying to hide his identity, so we can only speculate that it was either in the group home or foster home or something on the lines of that where she was involved in him. And he was a runaway. One of these days he ran away and he went to her place because he was there before. I mean, they were fucking in there, so he was like, it's a safe place to be. If I had to run away, I'd probably be there too, but I guess she was there on and off for a couple of days. So Bianca Chenard pleaded guilty last October to sexually exploiting by touching a 17-year-old boy for sexual purposes while in the position of trust and authority. The charges stem from Chenard's time working at Moncton's youth home in the late 2018 and into 2019. So Chenard was set to be sentenced in July, but dispute arose over whether Chenard had sex with the teen more than once. Dispute led to the hearing Wednesday when the Crown prosecutor called the victim, he's now 22 years old at this point, to testify. So it's like she made a plea deal because she basically was referring to it just happened just the one at one time only. But this is when her, I think the next day of her trial, when the victim actually came out and decided to change that. So unraveling her story where it was actually multiple times. So she was trying to lie about how many times he'd done it because she said once, but then he said over 20 times in the span of almost like 6 months. So the man that can't be named testified that the two of them had sex over 20 times in the late 2018. This is when he was around 16, 17 years old, while she was an employee at the home where he lived. So maybe he was in a group home, an employee at where he lived. So I think he was in a group home, and she worked at the group home as like a worker, social worker, or provincial court judge Ronald LeBlanc said that his testimony was credible. I do believe him when he says that he had sexual intercourse on many occasions, LeBlanc said. LeBlanc said it was likely the victim exaggerated to the police, but it was perhaps a sign he was being truthful in the court by that he testified to a lower figure. I think it wasn't 20 times. It could have been actually more than that because like she's 26 years old, he's 22 right now. They only have like a 4-year age difference. And so he was around 16, 17 years old when this happened. And like at that age, you had an older woman that's kind of caring for you. You're in a vulnerable mental state and your hormones are going on. And I guaranteed between 2018 and 2019, it's like almost a whole year. 6 months to a whole year. They definitely fucked more than 20 times. Even the judge says that it was the kid almost sounded like he was lowballing those numbers. LeBlanc will rule on the challenge of the minimum sentence. So the minimum being around 2 years, but you're like registered for 15. But we'll get into that after. So during sentencings, LeBlanc said he found it shocking that Chenard never asked or told the youth to go back home after he ran away. So basically, I don't even think he ran away. I think he just wanted to go and get fucked. That was the whole idea. Is like, because like her job is to like bring his ass back home, the group home. Instead, that I'm pretty sure it was planned. Like, I'm pretty sure it was planned. It sounded like it was planned. Multiple times running away from the group home, but always being at her place. She showed a complete lack of responsibility towards the minor, a youth in her care, and instead took advantage of her position to satisfy her sexual interest in him, he said. The court heard that time of the offense Chenard had ended a 4-year relationship with her father of her child and was feeling overwhelmed. So it's like, oh my god, my baby daddy's giving me a hard time. I might as well go fuck a minor at my job, right? What a fucking excuse. My baby daddy was making me feel overwhelmed. LeBlanc said mitigating the factors included unlikeliness that Chenard will commit further offense that she supports has from family and remorse she expressed. So she basically saying that she will never do it again. But don't they all say that when they get caught? He said that the mother of a 7-year-old child and has full-time job at Campbellton's cell phone store, the victim willingly participated was not relevant to determine a fit sentence, LeBlanc said. As the judge read the sentences of the 18-month jail, Chenard sitting and the family members in court became emotional. So basically, well, I mean, can you imagine your daughter or granddaughter or your sister or whatever is being sentenced for 2 years, but she's lucky because it's the minimum. Like, she's lucky she could have done 14 years. 15 is being the max. 2 years she got lucky, and the whole court became emotional. Defense lawyer Alexander Robichaud challenged the mandatory minimum. So the defense lawyer thought 2 years was not enough, which it kind of is not. Like, I always have an issue. We'll get to my opinions at the end of this. I'm getting ahead of myself with my emotions here. Sentence of 90 days arguing the minimum was unreasonable under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Fuck the Canadian Charter, man. Crown prosecutor Sylvie Gooden Blanchard sought 12 to 18 months in jail after aggravating factors aroused during the victim's testimony. The maximum sentence for the charge is 2 years. So they changed it for her. Because the sentence imposed a greater than the mandatory minimum, LeBlanc did not address the charter challenged by the defense. So LeBlanc also ordered Chenard to have no contact with the victim while in prison. She has taken into custody after the judge finished reading the sentence. So basically, that was it. They were just like, okay, well, we'll do 2 years. They tried to challenge it, and they said, no, we're just doing 2 years. Get the fuck out of my court. And that was it. My opinion about it is because, like, the Canadian Charter is that when it comes to this type of crime, criminal activities, cases, basically they almost sweep it under the rug. It's like you can do crimes. You basically can sexually touch kids and almost get away with it. They protect sex offenders all the time in Canada. First of all, the minimum age of consent is like 16. But before 16, if it was like 13, 14, or 15 years old, as long as there's a exact 5-year age difference, it's perfectly fine. Now that 16 is the minimum age to give consent, I mean, a 16-year-old can fuck a 40-year-old, and it'll be perfectly fine. In Canada, anyway. But the fact is, I could be okay with this compared to how I feel about how the Canadian charters deal with this shit. I said a sex offender can rape a kid or whatever, and they can do like pretty much 2 years, but they have to register as a sex offender for 15 years. But those listings aren't publicized in Canada. So we might have more sexual offenders in Canada. We just don't know about it because they protect them under the Canadian Charter Rights and Freedom. And that's the part that pisses me off. There's so many cases I want to do in my town, but we can't do them because they're protected. I can't get the list, and I can't even publicize them unless there's an actual crime that they have committed and I have a news clipping of it. Otherwise, would you guys believe me if I tell you of all the people I know? No, because I lack the evidence to show you guys. But I can't get them because they're protected under the Canadian Charter and Freedom. And it's the part that pisses me off because there's like a few cases I would love to do, but I can't do them. But pretty much in Canada, they play this game. Like I said, you take a plea deal, then plead guilty for a lighter sentence. And instead of doing 14 years, you did 2 years. And it's usually how the normal case is how it goes. If not, they barely do any time. They just get registered and they think that's enough because basically they can't go near schools. They can't go anywhere near kids. If they do have kids, they have supervised visits depending on the severeness of the case. But in Canada, we've been fighting for, I think the last update was maybe 2017 or 2018 to make it publicized about the register list. But they keep turning it down. I just wish that we can access the list, like how the US or maybe in other places do have like the public register, but in Canada it's like almost a joke and it's sad. It's like I went to school with this girl. I was only 2 grades higher than this chick. And she in school she seemed like to be like, you know, surrounding herself with good people. She was kind of like the somewhat like second class popular kids type of shit. She wasn't way up there, but she was like underneath it. She seemed fine in school, and I mean, she got pregnated by some fucking loser, and to the point where she was so overwhelmed that she got enticed by some 17-year-old girl. Like she's a worker. Like I don't get it. It's like you took this job to help, but instead you just harbored a kid and got your rocks off. I'm like, you're lucky you were in Canada. As I try to reach out to her anyway to get her side of the story. There was one person on the page I was reading in her case that was defending her about how it wasn't rape, it's statutory rape to be exact. But the problem is not because of the age gap. It was more like because she was in power. They call it there. Like she was basically like it's like a foster parent fucking their kid. It's as much as consent it was. It's the fact is there's the power difference there, especially on the job too, because it said they did it while she was working too. I guess down in the comments, what do you guys think? Like, our laws in Canada, it's almost a joke compared to the US. Like 2 years. I'm like, it's the time is up now. She should be free to go. It's like 2019. No, 2020. I'm pretty sure with the case, so she's probably just walking around free. I know her Facebook and all her social platforms are all deleted now. The only thing that she has is Messenger. Maybe Snapchat. I don't know. I don't really use Snapchat. But Canada, these laws make them walk way too easily. There's another case I wanted to do that I asked for an interview with him, but I doubt I will. Never, every person I've asked, they never want to do these interviews to clear their name or share their story. But if I get an answer from her, I'll probably try to do a live interview. If not, maybe record this interview with this next person I really want to do. But I'll leave the snippet of his crime and a picture of his face to go with it, because this guy did do this crime. It's just mind-blowing. But I guess thanks for watching. Subscribe or don't, like or don't. I just wanted to thank everybody that supported the channel. I went from 100 to 500 subscribers, and I went from like only having a handful of views to almost 30,000 views. And I have to thank everybody that's supporting the channel and the direction that it's going. I take a lot of the criticism to account, and I appreciate the good and bad that everybody said about the channel, about how maybe I need to practice my narration or maybe presentation. I'm still new. I'm hoping that if you keep up with the channel that maybe I'll develop more as we go, and to continue liking what I do and show your support. And if you guys have cases of yourself that you want me to cover, I'll be down to look at them. And I'll probably still branch out because it's still a gaming / true crime, and maybe I'll read off a few Am I the Asshole posts, because I kind of like have great opinions on a lot of these. I'm a pretty down to earth dude when it comes to that. But I like to say a prayer before I end this video for everyone that watched. So it's thank you and the Lord, in the name of Jesus, the King of Kings, for blessing me with this channel and everybody that has supported it, and to make sure that everybody that come across these videos, that they hear your name and they also feel the way that I do, a peace, love, and honor in your name, that you give everybody a tremendous day, the best day ever, and to feel as great as I do. But thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, for putting me on this earth to share these news and these prayers with these people. And I hope, if you're struggling with some deep shit, I hope you find your resolution and resolve it. Just pray to Jesus, and I'm sure He'll help you out. He helped me with mine. So thank you for watching, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.